This is the Rebel Call channel. Welcome to today's show. I have to do another video on Britney Spears because supposedly Britney Spears got into a fight with her boyfriend. Now you might say, well, what does that have to do with the regular content that you cover, sir? Well, I've covered Britney Spears many times over the years, and believe it or not, it's not to get clicks. It's everything that ever happens with Britney Spears really just shows proof to all the things that most of us talk about, that I specifically talk about in regards to MK Ultra. And the handlers that Britney Spears has, it's a very easy process to start waking up from when you start looking at these stories and the behavior of these people, right? Well, Britney Spears, the reason I'm covering it is because Britney Spears was at Chateau Marmont, and an ambulance was called because apparently some type of dispute happened, and Britney Spears came out wrapped in a towel, and it was a big to-do, and it's all over the national news. And the reason I'm covering it is because that word Chateau Marmont and Britney Spears. Because people out there don't even know what Chateau Marmont is. And this is a place where Miley Virus currently living at the Chateau, right? It's a place where lots of strange deaths have occurred. And of course, that's because this is their hotel in Hollywood. People should become aware of it. That ritual sacrifice happens, right? Now we know they have underground places, they have mansions, but they use this hotel with residents in the hotel. They have soundproof rooms in this residence that they commit ritual sacrifice offerings in. Okay? You've probably heard a lot of the crazy stories. You've heard stories about rock stars going there like Miley Virus and many others, and they party the night away. That's not what goes on there. They don't party the night away. They get all adrenaline. They get their, let's just say, adrenaline up. They get their adrenaline going. And I'm sure because they claim that an ambulance was called for Britney, and then Britney came out of the front door and just got into her car and left the scene. So who is the ambulance really for? Would Britney possibly make a sacrifice? Well, let's just listen to famed Satanist, even with the tattoo, the sigil of Lucifer on his hand, Marilyn Manson, talk about what Chateau Marmont means to him. And the people he mentions, if you actually look them up, like the guy from that movie, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, that Johnny Depp is in. Hunter S. Thompson was in the room with him. And of course, if you've seen that movie, you know all about adrenaline. You know, that red liquid that they like to drink. But this is just a quick tidbit of how important Chateau Marmont is to these Satanists.
Oh, okay. Well, let me just look at that very specifically because you just point out several rooms in this. They're very important because we're Hunter S. Thompson, Benicio del Toro, Nick Nolte. I'm going to keep name dropping. Johnny Depp, myself, Harry Dean, Stan Champagne, all hung out together. And Hunter S. Thompson had a bandage on his hand, and there was a hole in the window. Over here is where I met a girl that has three names, like Lita Harvey Oswald, Evan Rachel Wood. And then normally, I've never been to this castle part, but Chateau Marmont is very close to my house. I love Chateau Marmont.
So it's a good learning opportunity for people to see why these people are constantly at this dump of a hotel. They're there because the hotel is a front. They make people think that this hotel is, got history. It's got history to them. As far as sacrifices that have been done, I wouldn't be surprised if that's the reason ambulance was called, just to roll out a body there and let everybody know, oh, Britney's okay. Oh, Britney got into a dispute. Nobody thinks ever that actual rituals occur at these places. And for those of you that don't know about Britney, right, we've seen Britney do the all-seeing eye symbolism over the years. Peekaboo, shh. Right, Britney Spears doesn't want you to know that she's in the occult, but because they want you to think that Britney's broken free from these demons, right? But Britney hasn't broken free, because if Britney broke free, Britney would be taken down pretty quick and wouldn't have the right to speak. Britney's still being used, and of course, they love flaunting this stuff to us. Britney Spears uploaded the day before this whole incident at Chateau Marmont. What'd she upload? Well, an eyeball, right? You know, the eyeball that we all know, Lucifer, the all-seeing eye, right? That's what that eyeball is. Is that a coincidence that the day before this happened that Britney put that up randomly on her Instagram account? Doesn't post all that often on Instagram from what I see, but this was just put up right before the ambulance was called to come to the hotel for a quote-unquote domestic dispute or an argument that took place, right? Maybe just rolling out a corpse. But Britney, of course, shows you the eyeball because they show you that these things are all just happening right before our eyes. I mean, they literally are happening right in front of us. There's ritual sacrifice, these people showing us their allegiance to Lucifer, and nobody says anything. Now, Britney goes back, as most of you know, just to recap the history of Britney, in case you're new to all this, to Disney, right? So you've heard all this stuff about Britney's father, Jamie, right? Jamie Spears, the dad. Everyone heard, oh man, he's abusive and all this. Well, that's definitely true because Britney was put into the Mickey Mouse Club at a young age. You might say, well, how's that abusive of the father? Well, everybody in the Mickey Mouse Club went under MK Ultra mind control programming. Okay, Disney is a CIA base. That's what it is. And guess what? You're part of the experiment if you watch Disney. You don't even realize it. That's why most of these adults are still attached so much to Disney. You see 50-year-olds going to Disney wearing Mickey Mouse. He's like, I want to feel like a kid again. Oh, because you were part of the mind control experiment. You sat in front of the TV, you watched the cartoons. These were all created by the CIA. People are like, oh, they were created by Walt Disney. Oh, Walt Disney, the famous guy who started the DMLA, right? Walt Disney. There's a lot of books out there about Walt Disney's interest in children, his real interest. Of course, they don't want you to ever think about that. So look at all the people who went through Mickey Mouse with her. Gosling, Aguilera, Timberlake. I mean, the list is very, very long. And of course, Britney went from that to this, right? Britney became very famous. All the children, teenagers loved her. Guys, we worshipped her. And then we moved on, and Britney's MK programming broke. We saw Britney shave her head. We saw, even recently, a few years ago, Britney, doing a knife routine on Instagram, creeping everybody out right in front of her Masonic pillar. And of course, that's because Britney is a product of the Central Intelligence Agency. These are CIA assets. They want you to think that notion is crazy. They're all government assets. That's how they become and are put in these positions. They don't become famous. They go out of their way to tell you how they become famous. Why? Because they want you to think that these people organically are there because of talent. And they want you to think that you could do that too, right? Then you spend your whole life trying to achieve something that you can't achieve, and they love that because that leads to a lot of people being depressed, killing themselves, and ultimately it leads to more worship of these people. And if you worship the agent, then that agent can program you into the same ideologies. That agent, like Britney, can program you into lots of different things, but you'll never realize you're being programmed because that's why it's called mind control, right? So we've seen Britney with the butterflies, always showing us the butterflies, the monarch butterfly programming. And really, Britney's out in the open as one of the beta programs of the CIA. This is really more, the terminology is SCX slave. Okay, we've seen Britney do obsessed with bird cages. That's because she's in a prison, a mind prison. So you could have sympathy for some of these people because their parents are high-ranking Masons, high-ranking Eastern Star witches, in a lot of cases even higher than that. And their parents put them into this because their allegiances to the Brotherhood. People don't seem to understand. They don't have an allegiance to their blood. In fact, some of the oaths that these Freemasons and these Satanists take curse their bloodlines, curse their own blood. And that's why in the Old Testament we hear about parents sacrificing their children to Baal. It's the same thing. These people believe in the same thing. So they'll sacrifice their own, and they'll certainly, Jamie Spears would have no problem giving up his own child to put through this mind control program. It makes Jamie Spears very rich. He doesn't care because people don't believe this because they can't. It's very hard to fathom that somebody could be so wicked to their own children. But the Bible teaches us this with Baal worship. Okay, these people literally offering their children as sacrifices to Baal, Moloch. It's all in there. So we see the birdcage symbolism all the time because she's trapped. Her handlers are the ones who produce these videos and always show her trapped in a cage. Okay, it's not because Britney Spears just happens to be. She goes to the zoo and is obsessed with the cage more than the animal, and she goes, "I want to go inside." Okay, we've seen her obviously with the beta programming. This outfit here. This cougar kitten is a sex kitten outfit that they always wear. All the celebrities you can find wearing this, men and women, okay? Because the men are a part of this too. Kanye West, these guys are a part of it as well. Britney's always wearing, she's wearing it, she's doing the shh over her mouth, right? If you look up almost any celebrity, you'll find them wearing it. Put it in like cougar clothing or, leopard print, I guess is the terminology for it, the leopard print. Kim Kardashian, you'll find them all wearing it, right? And their handlers make them wear this stuff out in the open because they reveal this stuff out in the open. It's part of universal law, but it's also part of how they operate with each other because they communicate through signs and symbols. Like the old saying from Confucius, signs and symbols rule the world. Signs and symbols literally do. That's why in the magazine covers, they strategically do this stuff, right? They just strategically hold their hand over their eyes. They strategically do this, where Britney Spears is doing devil horns over her head. And they don't expect you to notice. They want you to think, well, they don't want you to think. They've trained you to think that these things are all passively done, that Britney Spears has her fingers like that over her head because she's being silly. That's all, right? She has her fingers over her head because she's being silly. And then, of course, What they do is they stage their posts on Instagram, Facebook, etc., which is why Britney Spears, like every other celebrity, is holding a goat. And then people out there see that and like, that's adorable. And they hear someone like me say, that's Baphomet worship, that's why. And they think to themselves, well, if I went and held a goat at a farm, it doesn't make me a Satan worshiper. No, it doesn't. No one's saying that. If you drink goat, look, no one's saying that. These people strategically do this stuff, which is why you see all the celebrities posting pictures of them with goats. But they know you're too dumb to figure it out because they've trained you to be dumb. They've trained you not to see these things. They've trained you to look for things that don't actually exist. They've trained you to believe in the television. They've trained you through repetition to believe in all the lies they've taught you in school. Okay? And guess what? I was trained that way too because I went through the school system. Like I've said a million times, I've always felt like something was terribly wrong with the world that we live in. Remember that old intro? And I've always felt something pulling on me. I've always prayed heavily about it. When I got older, not too old, but as I grew spiritually and as I started looking at things differently and praying for discernment, I started realizing this stuff. And little by little, you start realizing this entire thing is a simulation. People think that whole notion's crazy. No, it's not. There's a reason that the world has been so easy before the last, 5-6 years or so. Like when we grew up, it was easy because they were programming us. They were programming everyone, and they wanted them to pass it down to their kids so they can continue to program. So they had ultimately massive amounts of control over information in your mind. And they built an entire reality that isn't real. The news is completely formulated. These celebrities are all government assets. And everybody goes, that they can't wrap their head around that. That's why they put these massive backstories into them to make you care. Oh, poor Britney. Britney grew up, she was so talented, because people out there like some of their songs. They don't even realize people start liking music because they hear it over and over and over again. You know how a song gets stuck in your head? You hear a song you don't even like at the store, right? And then you hear it in the car, and then you hear it, and then suddenly you're singing in the shower, and then you suddenly download the song. You're like, I didn't even like this person before, but I do like this song. Well, that's because it's part of mind control. Repetition is the key. They can make you like something that you would never think you would like in a million years. That's how all this stuff works with music. It's how all this stuff works with movies. It's very, very simple. They've learned how, and they've mastered how to control the human mind, okay? And these false idols like Britney play a huge role in that. They're assets to them. They only wipe these people off if these people have turned against them. Like I call it the Mozart, syndrome, right? And that video's on Mozart was one of them. You could find that for yourself. A lot of his music was written for Freemasons, okay? Mozart turned on them. Mozart was sacrificed. You don't get to go, oh, Britney's breaking free. You don't get that chance. Kanye, you don't break free, okay? You have what, us Italians used to call, you have yourself an accident, right? What happened to that guy? I guess he had himself an accident, right? The guy went missing. No one ever found him, like Jimmy Hoffa, right? That's what happens to these people. They're still out in the public eye. A lot of them, yes, they have clones. That's hard for people to believe as well, even though they even tell you about that stuff on the news. They say they have the technology to do it. But then they, when you have Bill Clinton telling you that you can clone people, etc., people still, they don't even know what that means. Like, oh, what? They're like, yeah, but we won't do it. We promise you. Oh, okay. Just like we promise you, if you take a certain something to your body, then you'll never have to get it again. And then they tell you 6 months later you need it a lot because we need you to be able to take with those 5G towers. So anyway, I won't go on anymore about that. But Britney Spears, right? So this incident occurs at the Chateau Marmont. And everybody, all the mainstream media is like, oh, Britney got in a fight. And then the response is that poor Britney, now we got to get her away from the boyfriend. That is the mindset that these people have. But what really likely happened there was the sacrifice was probably done. Probably a botched one. Something occurred with him in the ambulance, probably had to pick somebody up. But even if that isn't the case, people should see these stories and learn about these places. They should be like, why are all these celebrities at Chateau Marmont? What's the big deal there? Why is Marilyn Manson having parties with Johnny Depp there? And we could go rent rooms there. Well, they like you to believe you could rent rooms there, right? They like you to think that you could rent a room. Well, of course, there's days you probably could get a room for a very high price. I'm not saying that you can, but you can't go on that. You can't go on that floor that they go on. The Hotel California was really about Chateau Marmont. Some people out there don't think so, but it is. It's about Chateau Marmont, that famous hotel in California. You can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave. Right, lots of spirits manifested in that hotel. So clearly some type of ritual occurred there. Britney was hanging out there. Right, we know Miley Virus is living in there. Right, Miley can't get enough of the demons inside her body. So Miley's like, screw it. I'm just going to move in here and summon these things 24/7. I mean, you can look at these people and not only they sold their soul, they're soulless. People out there are like, you can't really sell your soul. You can sell your soul. You can sell your soul. If you give your soul to Lucifer, you sell your soul. Does that mean that they can't repent and find Christ? No, it doesn't mean that. But these people don't repent and find Christ. How do we know that? Because they wouldn't be here to talk about it. And they don't, most of them, but the ones that do wouldn't be here. Britney Spears is another one of these MK Ultras I showed you, mind control program people that are out there. Many people think Britney's been replaced. I'm not going to argue against that. But you can see clearly what I call MK Ultra breakdowns. That's what this behavior is. That you see this weird behavior. Shia LaBeouf, same thing. Kanye West, same thing. Remember Lamar Odom, same thing. They get programmed, right? They go through trauma-based mind control programming. That's what our government agencies do. They do it to young children, but they do it to adults too. And sometimes their programming goes a fritz, okay? Because it's very complex. It's very complex with the brain and how they create alters inside your mind through traumatic experiences and events and things that they do to these people, and they keep them underground for a long period of time. And sometimes they go fritz, and that's what happened to Britney. It's what happened to LeBeau. And people out there are just, they just are obsessed with the stories of these people, but they don't really understand anything that's going on because they don't believe that mind control and this stuff is real. But it's all documented, MK Ultra. All this stuff is documented. The government's admitted to doing it. Bill Clinton even admitted to MK Ultra and saying, we're sorry about that. We won't let them do that anymore, because people were finding out what was going on. Now you move 25 years later, again, the propaganda is so thick. All these people out there think that we're all nuts. And anybody out there that finds, people like us, they end up cutting us, our trunks out from under us because they won't let us expose these government operations that are going on around us. Think about, when I talk about them being government assets, people roll their eyes like, government asset. Who cares about Britney Spears? Britney Spears has more influence over people than anybody in Congress does. These are the influencers. So people go, well, what is influencing? Well, who cares about that? Oh, yeah. All these big guys that we all expose, like Larry Fink, they're obsessed with behavioral control. Who do you think controls and manipulates the behavior? Not just the laws and bills that they pass, the celebrities do. How do you think they've gotten so many people on board with openly being okay with children bobitizing themselves, right? Castration. Excuse me. I did that deliberately because I don't want the algorithm to get the word. But how do you think they've gotten people on board? Well, every celebrity has a kid that's one, right? How many celebrities have we exposed over the years, all of us? Your channels, my channel, talking to each other, finding this out on the website. Oh, so-and-so's kid suddenly flip. Oh, yeah? Megan Fox and Pink and Dwayne Wade, just a couple off the top of my head. Oh, they all... So then they see the influence filters down and people just start taking this stuff as if it's normal. They don't realize that not only is it not normal, it's programming. They're convincing you of this. Why do you think so many people could continue to come out? Oh, because they were hiding so many years ago? Because they're subliminally programming you into your preferences. They're subliminally programming you into accepting their ideologies. This is all Baphomet, Luciferian doctrine is what it is. So Britney Spears, again, checks out of Hotel California, Chateau Marmont. But don't worry, she's okay, folks. But don't think twice about what could have really occurred there. Don't learn about Chateau Marmont and why it's really so famous to these people. It's everything to do with that red liquid that Hunter S. Thompson loves so much in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, that all these celebrities love so much. I thank everybody for being here. Hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families, as always.